Hey, everybody, it's Chris here, and welcome back to the show. Excited tonight to have with us the mayor and mayoral candidate for Fox Lake, Donny. Excited to have you on the show, and looking forward to getting to know you a bit better and sharing your story with our community.
Well, it's nice to be here. Thank you for doing this.
As I've told you and I've told others, I mean, I'm doing this out of just trying to help people engage locally in their local elections. Voter turnout's incredibly low for these consolidated elections. And hey, if we can get people talking and expose people to who these candidates are, then maybe that will help drive some of that out. Because I also know a lot of people don't vote because, hey, I don't know who's running in this. And so that's the avenue for this. Conversations don't equal endorsements. But I like to get to know the various candidates around our area. And Donnie reached out and said, "Hey, I'd be willing to jump on and have a conversation." So I appreciate that as well. So Donnie, tell us about yourself. What's your story? How'd you get into this? Why you doing it again?
Well, it's kind of a long story. I lived here all my life. I've had my grandchildren are the fifth generation of my family that have lived in Fox Lake. And I just got news over the weekend that I'm going to be a great-grandfather. So this
Hey,
is exciting. But I started volunteering in grade school, visiting the senior buildings. And I just found I got so much out of it, more than I put in. So from there, it led to I was an instructor in a blind bowling league for the Lions Club. I've been on the volunteer fire department for over 30 years. I've coached youth football, youth wrestling. At my church, I've been involved in every committee they've got. And it was just a natural progression. They told me, why don't you run for trustee? You just do the things you do. I've donated quite a bit of work. My construction company's donated quite a bit of work to the village and the fire department and the police department. So it was just, to me, being mayor is just another volunteer opportunity.
it's an extension of what you've already been doing. So tell me about the construction company. What type of construction you guys do?
So I do tunnels. I started I was in college and I was lifeguarding during the summer and I had hurt my knee, so I couldn't wrestle anymore. So I needed to find a new career and it just kind of fell into my lap, the tunnel business.
So you
And
thought, let's dig some holes.
yeah, so I've been doing it ever since. Started my own company in 1992, and I kind of run the village like I do my small business. When COVID hit and 2008 hit, I didn't have to worry because I wasn't carrying a lot of debt, and we survived and actually thrived.
I think that's incredibly important. I don't think people fully grasp, that interchange there of how we need to actually be looking at government and government spending and government efficiencies the way that small business owners do. There's I grew up the son of a small business owner. My dad had his own business growing up, and I started sweeping the shop floor when I was in junior high and learned the value of hard work and getting things done. I remember those conversations sitting around the dinner table around what's actually happening and what we may have to hold back, where we may have to make cuts, where we may have to make changes in order just to make sure that other people got to eat with that. And I think unfortunately, especially here in Illinois, it's like, oh, cool. We can just go get more money from the taxpayers. We can just keep raising taxes to go get more money from the taxpayers. So with that in mind, even when I ran, the number one question I got asked at just about every door is, or had something to do with taxes and property taxes, sales tax, gas tax. Seems like Illinois is overtaxed with that. How have you addressed that? How have you worked with that in Fox Lake?
Well, in Fox Lake, our property tax, we only get about $2.5 million a year. I tell people if you pay $100 in property taxes, the village only gets $8. We get 8% of the property tax and get about 100% of the complaints. Just like you said, I pay high taxes. How come my roads aren't fixed? But out of that $8 out of the 100, I got to provide police protection, 911 service, plow the roads, fix the roads, our parks and recreation. Those are all things we do. And one of the biggest hindrances is out of the $2.5 million we get, almost 900,000 goes to the police pension fund. So even though it's a tremendous amount of money, we don't realize that money. And it's just like your family. You'd like to go on vacation every year. Well, I'd like to fix roads and build our parks better. But if the money's not there, the last thing I want to do is burden the next administration after me with a lot of debt where if they run into an emergency, they can't do anything. Our debt is pretty small compared to our bonding power. I could go out and borrow a lot more money, but I just don't think it's frugal. When you buy something on a credit card, eventually you got to pay. So that's been one of the things that guide me, and I think I get that from running my small business.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you rack up that debt and just try to kick the can down the road and say, "Oh, that's going to be somebody else's problem." I think that's what we are dealing with currently here in Illinois, more than we need to be, because they keep racking it up, pension cost, pension liabilities across the board that just keep racking up, and we'll fix it later, because no one wants to be the one to fix it. But I appreciate your approach of, hey, if we don't break it, we don't have to fix it in that regard. So.
One of the things we're losing revenues from the state are it's called LGDF. That's the state income tax. That's been reduced significantly, and then the grocery tax going out. It saves the average person about $2 a week, but it was over $400,000 the village lost. That $2 a week isn't going to change the quality of your life, but it sure affected our village income. So we've had to make adjustments on that. Many municipalities have enacted the grocery tax, but from the municipal side, but we have not yet. And I'm not saying we will never will, but right now we're not going to.
Yeah, why do it if you don't have to do it right now? So what are you doing then, with that? And, when I was in the House, the LGDF was brought up all the time. And, everyone in my circles were like, oh, yeah, we want to restore it. But it was never actually brought up to vote on to be able to restore, to get back to that 10%. But in losing the grocery tax, the same thing for you, for municipalities. So how do you compensate for that? How do you make up for that without overburdening your residents?
So I think we should do it through development. When I got in, we were getting about $2.7 million a year in sales tax. We've had several new businesses come in. We've provided business incentives to get new businesses, and we've gone from 2.7 million to 3.7 million. So that's an additional $1 million sales tax that we're getting. That's how we can make ends meet. And again, we've developed TIF districts, business development districts. We got incentive programs. We got facade improvement programs. We've enhanced our downtown tremendously. We've created more parking. We've got a fountain in our downtown now. We've upgraded a couple of our parks. And just the walkability make the town more inviting. And it seems to be paying off. We've got more development coming in. We need to do more, but we do have more development coming in.
So with your location of where Fox Lake is, the heart of the chain there, is a lot of the revenue that comes in from that from outside of your immediate constituency, with outside of the Fox Lake residents? Are you pulling in a lot of outside dollars, especially when the weather's nice?
Yeah, the numbers are outstanding in the summertime. How many people come and visit us. We're part of the chain of lakes. There's over 25,000 registered boats. We didn't really have a place for them to come in off the lake and participate in our downtown businesses and restaurants, so we're working on that. We enhanced our lakefront park, which has seemed to really spur a lot of interest and more development. So in the summertime, I remember when I was a little boy, Route 12 was only 2 lanes, and the traffic would be backed up for miles.
Yep.
One of the founding fathers of the village, of the Corpin family, they get Corpin's Landing, he was our treasurer, Walter Corpin. And everybody told me, oh, you could be the next Lake Geneva. And Walter told me, he goes, Donnie, you don't want to be the next Lake Geneva. You just want to be the best Fox Lake you can be. So I do want to have other people come to our community, spend their money, but I don't want to change the quality of life for our residents either.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a great balance. I grew up in West Michigan. I grew up in a tourist town. And so there was always that balance of, you want to attract the outside dollars, but you want to keep the quality of life for your residents, high, in a place that people want to live, and not thinking, hey, I got to get out of here. So in that balance, though, as you're trying to develop downtown and bring in developers, I guess it's 2 pitches, right? What's the pitch to the business to say, hey, Fox Lake's the place to be? And then what's the pitch to the consumer who's looking, maybe they are too close to the city. They want to move out. They want to get a little bit more space or get away from something or move, into Illinois. What's the pitch then for them of, hey, Fox Lake is the place to be?
Well, the greatest asset we have is the lakes. You know, God only made so many lakes, and we're blessed. We're almost a peninsula. We're surrounded almost on three sides by water. It's our biggest asset, but it's also our biggest challenge, because when you start going on demographics and the 15-minute drive time, a lot of our 15-minute drive time's underwater. So what I got to do is make sure that developers know that we have a train station where the end of the train line, we've got the lakes, and we've got Route 12, which has over 25,000 cars up a day driving up and down there. We've turned a corner. We're on the upswing. We've got many new restaurants in town, so we've got a big variety, and it's just growing more and more as we continue to support our businesses and provide incentives.
That's fantastic. In water is both a asset and a challenge for Fox Lake, with storm, or all of Lake County, pretty much, stormwater mitigation. Where does the runoff go? Flooding potentials, how are you managing, all the water?
Yeah. So I don't just stay inside the village. I go outside the village because I think it benefits our village. I'm the chairman of stormwater management of Lake County. And so I'm very familiar with the stormwater. We've been able to get some grants to help with the mitigation. And we got a close relationship with Army Corps and IDNR. So we make sure that everything we do meets with all the rules, so we're not adding to the problem. Yeah, it's a challenge, but I think it's one we will overcome. We've got a lot of new businesses coming in, and since we put in the Lakefront Park, we've been approached by a couple hoteliers that, are piqued our interest. And one of the bigger challenges is our demographics, the 15-minute drive time, but, we're not only 4 or 5 months out of the year for the season. We've got all the opportunities that we need to market, like the Volo Auto Museum, Wilmot Ski Hill, all the snowmobiles out on the lakes. So
Up there today, are they?
They are, actually.
Are they?
But, the ice is still pretty thick. We had our polar plunge yesterday, and we had to have the fire department come in and bring in the pools because the ice was so thick, there was no water under the ice. We broke a hole in the ice for the jumpers to go in, and there was no water. So we had about 150 people.
That's crazy.
Jump in there, raised over $20,000 for Special Olympics. But that's
fantastic.
We are.
I always appreciate those polar plungers, and every year I try to avoid getting dragged into one, and I'm going to keep that. If anybody knows me, there's two things I don't like being cold, and I don't like being wet when I'm cold. So that kind of knocks out polar plunging for me. But I'll go on the shore and celebrate and encourage.
I've been volunteering at it for over 25 years. When they first started doing the polar plungers, we were the only one around, and we'd have upwards of 400 plungers, raise over $100,000. But it's kind of saturated now. Quite a few towns have it, but we still hold our own, and it's a community event where people get together and, you see old friends. I've never jumped in, and I don't plan on it either, but I would always be getting the food ready for, the plungers when they came in out of the water.
There you go. So the commitment isn't, if you get elected, you'll jump in next year. We're not putting that out there.
No. I might get thrown in, but I won't jump in.
If you don't get reelected, then you may be throwing other people in. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm kidding. Yeah. So you mentioned it earlier when you were talking about, pensions, law enforcement, police pensions with that. Public safety is a huge issue for most residents here in the suburbs as the crime creep tends to be making its way out from Chicago further and further into the suburbs. What are you guys doing in Fox Lake to address that? What are you doing as mayor? What do you hope to do if you get reelected to keep people safe?
Well, my job, not only for the police department, for every department we have in department head, is to give them the tools to succeed. And I think training is the biggest tool our police department needs. Make sure we have enough officers on the streets, that everyone's safe, but provide training for so they know every circumstance that's going to happen. We've got a great police department. I got a great police chief, and she provides the training. We hold our police accountable. And I think that's the best thing we can do is provide them the tools to succeed. And I think that's training, the equipment. I don't want us to be, outdated with our equipment. We'll get our cameras up
Yeah.
so that they can recognize cars that coming in that shouldn't be around, and just the police any way we can. But I think backing of the board for the police department is a real big thing. We're part of the 911 consolidation. We'll be moving that operation to Lake County, and that should save us some money. But training, I think that's the key.
And so with law enforcement, the funds that are coming in, transparency and accountability. We unfortunately have another Illinois politician going to jail, possibly was found guilty, Madigan, finally. But the accountability and the transparency is a must and a need for local officials too. So how do you plan to continue your growth of transparency and accountability to your residents?
So when I got in, we had an outdated form of government. It was the committee form of government, and only 1% of the towns our size used that. So we changed into a manager type of board. And what I've done is we put our agenda out. The same agenda that the board gets is online every Friday afternoon. Anybody can come in and take a look at it. We do our meetings via Zoom. You can comment on our meetings via Zoom. Everyone in the village hall has access to my calendar, and they have full authority to make any appointments they want. They don't have to ask me. They just put it on my calendar, and if anyone wants to meet me, wants to talk, they have full authority. I see, I learned from my fellow mayors and that, and Steve Lenz over in Mundelein, he has that coffee. I went to one with Tim Wilson the other day, and I'm thinking, that's a good idea. I'm probably going to try and do that. So, yeah,
That's
the more open you are, I think the better you are. So,
and the more accessible you make yourself being a lifelong resident of that area, I'm sure there's some great hangout places that the people could always find you at. Where's the go-tos? What are the good places that I need to next time I'm coming through Fox Lake? I got to make sure I hit up.
We got, and I'm afraid to say anything because I try and visit them all, but I know I'll leave someone out. But the American Legion, I fully support them. Both my sons were in Iraq, and they sent mattresses over to my one son. So if I'd like to go to the American Legion, they got their own place there, El Porto, Dockers, Milo's, Johnny's. And then we've got quite a few taverns that we're not in the Book of World Records, but we do have quite a few taverns. But there's a little something for everybody. Asian fusion, sauce and toss. I know I'm forgetting some of the restaurants, but we got Twisted Burger, Burrito Express. We just got tons and tons of restaurants here, and there was a thought process that if you got more restaurants, it would take away from the existing restaurants, but it's not the case. I mean, I take a look at Libertyville. The old mayor, Terry Wepler, there's a group that would get on the train here in Fox Lake and go down to Libertyville, and they'd do a bar crawl, a restaurant crawl. And I would tell Terry, one of these days they're going to get on the train to Libertyville and come up here to Fox Lake.
Come up to Fox Lake.
So
yeah, there's always hungry people, especially if you got places for them to go and manage and do that. So how long have you been in office?
So I was on the planning commission for 2 years. I was a trustee for 2 years, and now I've been mayor for 12 years. I think it's a position that you've got to do your time and prepare yourself and learn the job before you jump into it. And I think being on the planning commission, well, being a volunteer all my life here, but being on the planning commission, being a trustee, I was ready to step up and be mayor. So
excellent.
yeah,
And so
it's been a long time.
It's been a bit, and you've seen and experienced a lot over that time from, I mean, most
So
recently
I made a couple of
COVID,
notes.
recessions.
Yeah. So we had my first year as mayor, we had a polar vortex, we had record snowfall. We had our first of two 100-year floods. My first staff meeting, we had a water hammer, and over 200 homes were damaged. And so we've taken that and we've fixed all of it. We were a national news story for a while, and we've overcome all that, and we've excelled. We went through COVID, and actually our sales tax rose during COVID, and we were able to use the funds that we were getting. And I was president of the Lake County Municipal League. We had to fight for those funds, and we did get those funds. So we've faced every obstacle that's been in front of us, and we've excelled. A couple of things, and I don't know how much longer we got, but a couple of things, when I became, our turnover at our personnel was just tremendous amount of personnel turnover. And so we did a study about 6 years ago and found out that we're the lowest paid comparable village. We're the 0th percentile. So I came up with a 5-year plan to get us up to the middle of the pack, the 50th percentile, because when you have turnover, it costs you a lot of money. You've got to go through the hiring process. You got to go through the training process, and that's taking away from staff doing their others. So we're competitive in our salaries, and our turnover is, we still have a little bit of turnover, but it's decreased tremendously.
Good.
We've done our interconnect project. We were maintaining 2 separate sewer and water systems, and we were able to do an interconnect project, which opened up development for areas that didn't have sewer and water. And now we're just operating one system. We're saving over $100,000 a year in operating cost. And we had an outdated treatment plant that was going to cost more than the interconnect project. So we've gotten $19 million in grants and loan forgiveness. So that's how we're able to do the things we do.
That's great.
And then before we go, I got to mention all our events. So let me know when you
Bring
want
them
to do
on.
that.
Bring them on.
Okay, so I started at the beginning of the year. We do the polar plunge, we do the cardboard boat race, Easter egg hunt, Mayor's Fishing Derby, Mayor's Fish Fry. 4th of July, we have fireworks out on the lake. We've got several thousand people in boats. We do the Memorial and Veterans Day celebrations, our Halloween Howl at the police department. We got our Festival of Lights. With our lakefront park enhancement, now we have a public beach. We have a farmer's market that we do every week during the summer. We got Friday night concerts that are very, very well attended. And we got
live music there at the park?
Yeah, every Friday night.
All right, I'm adding that to my list.
Yeah, and we got year-round programs for all ages. We've got dance classes, pickleball. We've got a state-of-the-art playground for the kids. And one of the things that just does my heart so much good is I drive by there just to see all the kids and grandmas and grandpas and parents and people meeting new people. It just does my heart so much good to see our community come together like that.
I love it. That's what you want in a community. You want people and places to where they can come together and they can hang out and they can be with others and they can experience and then go shopping and go get a coffee, go get something to eat and just feel like this is home. So it seems like you're setting that up. You have set that up well, for Fox Lake. So before we go though, I've got some just random questions here though.
Okay.
All right.
I can't.
Donny, give me a movie that you can watch over and over and over again.
Probably Airplane.
I love it.
I like those goofy movies. Monty Python's
I love it.
Holy Grail.
I love it. And you know what's going to happen, and it's still funny. You know the lines that are coming, and you're still laughing with it. I love it. All right, Cubs or Sox?
Sox. My boys, we've been Sox fans all my life. My dad, when my boys were both in Iraq together during the season, the White Sox won the World Series before the Cubs did. I taped every game and sent it over to them.
Well, that's
my
awesome.
One boy was my one stationed in Baghdad Airport. He had access to a computer, so it was on disc. I sent it over to him. And my other son, he was a sniper in Samara. He didn't have access to a computer set, but he got the disc, so White Sox.
All right, there you go. How do you take your coffee? What's your go-to coffee order?
black with sugar-free hazelnut.
Oh, little twist in there. All right. And then every Chicagoan's gotta have this, or Chicagoan area. What's your pizza topping? What do you put on your pizzas?
Sausage.
That's it? Crumble or
Just
like the
sausage.
thick?
Cheese and sausage.
Do you do the crumbles or do you do like the thick? Just in Lou
The thick one.
Malnati's, it does like the thick, like whole layer of
And we got
sausage.
so many good pizza places here in Fox Lake.
You prefer the tavern, the thin crust, the deep dish?
I like more thin crust, but we've got so many great places here.
There's a lot of great pizza places in our area. We are definitely spoiled with that. Donnie, how can people find out more about your campaign and your reelect bid? Where can they get information?
I just go on my Facebook site. I've got a web page for the election on there, but I post all kinds of village things on my Facebook page, or call me. I'm very accessible, and you see me all over town. If you go to any village event, I'm there. So yeah, just go on my Facebook, call me, say hello when we're out.
There you go. Find Donnie on Facebook, give him a call, or hit him up around the neighborhood because he's always out and about. So Donnie, I greatly appreciate you taking the time today. Best of luck with that, guys. Remember, April 1st is election day. That comes right after spring break for most of us in this area. So make your plan. Vote early if you can, or make sure you mark that day to get out and vote on April 1st. Get informed on who your candidates are. That's what we're trying to do here. And as always, thank you, Donnie. And remember, conversations don't equal endorsement, but it was a pleasure getting to talk with you today. And hopefully we'll do this again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Best of luck. Thanks, Donnie.